Hey everyone, we have some really exciting stimulus news updates. The Republican Party just released their stimulus package out of the Senate, and I'm going to be giving you the details of that bill in this video, so be sure to stick around. I'm going to tell you everything from unemployment insurance, stimulus checks, and all of those other provisions in the stimulus bill. Now, because this is brand new, we don't have the full text of the bill out yet. That's going to be coming out in the next few hours, but I'm going to give you the key details of that bill in this video. I'm going to go through that bill in detail later today, so I'm going to make an additional video, and if you want to know what else is in the bill, those key little details, I'm going to use my skills as a lawyer, which means just being able not to fall asleep when I read the bill, in order to tell you what the key provisions that aren't in this video are in the new stimulus bill. So my name is Kevin Conway. I make personal finance videos and stimulus news update videos all the time. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, like the video, and share it with people if it helped you out in any way. The news is breaking fast. This is the key week for stimulus news updates, so you want to stay informed. Things are going to move really quickly. You want to know what's going to happen to your unemployment insurance, when the new stimulus checks are coming, how much they're going to be, and all of those other things. So with that, let's get right into the video. So first things first, as I pointed out in my previous videos, it is confirmed that the Republican Party is in favor of additional stimulus checks. This new stimulus bill has stimulus checks in the bill. As many of you may have seen in my previous videos, I detailed that Mitch McConnell expressed his direct support for additional stimulus checks. So this really comes as no surprise because Mitch McConnell, who controls the Senate, was really the last one to actually get on board with the idea of additional stimulus checks. The House of Representatives, controlled by the Democrats, already passed a bill with additional stimulus checks. The White House has already stated clearly that they support additional stimulus checks. So now that we have this Republican stimulus bill out, we can see that it made it in there. Really no surprise. Now, unfortunately, we don't know exactly how much the additional stimulus checks are going to be right now. It looks like they will be $1,200, and it looks like they will have that criteria that's a little bit lower on the income scale than the previous stimulus checks. That is, if you make $40,000 a year, you likely qualify. If you make over that, it'll probably be reduced a little bit. We don't know the full details right now. The news that I just read indicates that there will be additional stimulus checks. I'm going to tell you exactly how much and how to get it and when they will be distributed later on in my follow-up video once I read through the entire text of the bill once it is released. So be sure to subscribe. All right, so that's pretty great, but I think the more important point in this bill is unemployment insurance. As I've mentioned in my previous videos, if unemployment insurance is not passed through July 31st, if that additional pandemic unemployment insurance is not passed, we are going to see the economy take a huge nosedive. Now, there's reasons why people don't want to extend it, and there's reasons why people want to lower it, but that's just a simple fact of the matter. Economists, right, left, and center, have really come out and stated that if we don't pass additional stimulus in the form of unemployment insurance, we're going to be in a world of hurt. But fortunately, in this Republican release bill from the Senate, unemployment insurance is extended clearly. So if you've been following the channel, you know that I actually had, just by happenstance, to know some contacts in DC who are with all of those politicians, and they confirmed that unemployment insurance would be extended. They did so last week, so I'm glad that it actually made it in this bill and affirmed what we already knew to be true. And this is the key point. But here is kind of the difficult part of unemployment insurance. According to Steve Mnuchin, the unemployment insurance, which typically was the $600 per week that you can get from the federal government plus whatever your state gave you, is going to be reduced to 70% of whatever you made before you lost your job. Now, this is consistent with what I expected, but it is kind of weird. 70%, why 70%? I really think that's because it's a starting point of negotiation. So the Republicans released this bill. They still need the House of Representatives to sign off on it, and the House is controlled by the Democrats. Now, I think that 70% number is really a starting point. The House is going to say, okay, look, I'm glad unemployment insurance is in this additional bill because they were talking about before reducing it to $100 a week or cutting it entirely. So I'm glad it's in the bill, but instead of 70%, let's meet in the middle, maybe 85%, 90%, something like that. But the point is it's going to be reduced a little bit, but it is crucially going to be extended. So for all of those people on unemployment insurance. It's not the best case scenario, but it is a scenario where you can count on additional unemployment insurance checks rolling in and supplemented from the federal government. Now, actually, what I found very strange about this detail of the unemployment insurance is that previously in March, when they were passing the CARES Act, one of the key things was let's make sure people aren't paid more on unemployment insurance than they make at their jobs. But it wasn't actually factored into the CARES Act because it was found to be too hard to administer. How are you going to be able to comb through millions and millions and millions of people, see what they made before, and reduce it by 70% and see if that is an amount lower than what they would get in unemployment insurance? How are you going to do that? It already is difficult for people just to get unemployment insurance. Millions of people are still backlogged in places like Florida and California and other states like that because unemployment systems aren't up and running. So does this actually end up making it into the final version of the bill, or do they just reduce it outright by 20% or so for everybody? Who really knows? But the point is, it probably will be reduced a little bit, and the administration of it is going to be a little bit of a hiccup. Fortunately, if you're already on unemployment insurance, it likely is just going to be an automatic thing for you. But the point is, unemployment insurance is now back in the bill, back on the table. It will be extended for all of those people either on it or going to lose their job soon and are worried that they won't be able to make their bills. All right, so what else is in the bill? Well, one of the things that's not in the bill is the payroll tax holiday, that thing that President Trump really wanted, where your payroll tax would be eliminated or foregone in some way and your paycheck would actually boost. That's not in this bill. So that kind of is a bummer for those people who are working right now. If that was in the bill, you would see an increase in your pay by probably 7%, which is pretty good. And it would just be automatic. It would just come on your next paycheck. But that's not in this bill, unfortunately. It didn't really have a lot of support from the right or the left, and it's not really in this bill here. So what else is in this stimulus bill? Well, according to CNBC, there's $105 billion specifically for schools to reopen. Now, what does that exactly look like? How is it going to be administered? How is it going to be paid out? All of those are details we don't quite know right now. But here's the fact of the matter. It's late July. School is scheduled to open in a few weeks. For a lot of people online, I know in California, most people are going to be remote learning. I don't really know how this gets worked out. And maybe it is really just allocated to the schools so that they can open again in their second semester, maybe in January. Who really knows? But as of right now, there's $105 billion allocated for schools to try to reopen. This has been a big point for Republicans. They want schools to reopen, and they say that kids need to go to school. Democrats, by and large, say that, it's too risky for kids to go to school. So this is going to be one of those political points that gets hashed out in the next couple weeks. And I really hope that this doesn't drag the passage of this bill, this one point. Another provision in this bill is the extension of the Paycheck Protection Program, a supremely popular program for businesses because it essentially is free money from the government. But the PPP is going to be limited to those firms that suffered a revenue drop of at least 50%. So if you're a restaurant, if you're a hotel, those businesses likely are going to be able to get additional PPP funds. But if you're a business that, for example, is like a stockbroker or some sort of cleaning business and your business didn't really suffer that much and you were able to qualify for the PPP loans before, now you probably won't be able to get those additional PPP funds, but you will have additional flexibility on how you spend those funds. You could drag them out over the course of more weeks. You could spend them more flexibly. I have other videos on the PPP changes that have occurred in the last few weeks if you want to check those out. But for those businesses that have suffered in a revenue drop of more than 50%, you're going to be able to get a second round of PPP. That's pretty great. Additionally, there are tax credits for businesses to hire workers. I think this is kind of a silly point because a lot of businesses probably have net losses and therefore no tax liability, but you know what? It's an additional thing to try to get businesses to hire people. There's $16 billion for additional testing throughout the states. So I think that's a good thing because we need more testing. More testing means more isolation. Maybe we can get the economy going once more. And you have new developments such as the third trial phases of a lot of these vaccines done by a lot of these companies. So I think additional testing can target where they deliver the vaccines. This overall, I think, is a pretty good point. And additionally, there is no direct money for states and local governments in this Republican bill, but there is flexibility and how the states and local governments can actually use what they've already been allocated from previous iterations of stimulus packages, namely the CARES Act. This is a big point because Democrats wanted additional funding for state and local governments, but the Republican plan does not include that. So that is pretty much it. Those are the key details we know at this hour. I'm going to be making a follow-up video going through that stimulus bill once the full text is released. So be sure to subscribe to this channel because I'm going to bring you the key details. But here is what we really know from the details released right now. Additional stimulus checks, that's going to happen. Additional unemployment insurance, that also is going to happen. And number 3, a point I think a lot of people are going to miss, Steve Mnuchin actually said that if this bill isn't enough to get the economy going again, there's going to be follow-up stimulus bills. That is different than what Mitch McConnell said previously, where he said, this is the final stimulus bill, take it or leave it, this is the last one everyone's getting. That's a really crucial key point, that we're going to have follow-up bills if the economy is not up and running once more, and if we need additional stimulus. That's really key. That means that there's going to be additional talks, additional discussions, even after this bill passes. So you're going to want to stay informed. If this video helped you out, be sure to give it a like, share it with whoever you think it might benefit, and be sure to stay healthy. I'll see you next time. Thanks.